Today I want to build with you a magical 3D buttons inspired by Josh Comeau post, and basically it's look like this. So when I'm hovering it, the button is like exciting for me and it's go up a little bit, and when I click it, it's bounce. Okay, you can see it better like this. So I did pretty much exactly like Josh Comeau show in his post. So this is the post, and basically this dude is amazing, and he's creating really amazing front end stuff, animation and advanced CSS, and you should really check him out. Yeah, really awesome content. And recently he came out with an amazing course for, it's called CSS for JavaScript developers, and this is really amazing. So yeah, definitely check it out. So if we go to the example of Josh, so basically the button is built from three parts. We have the button, and we have the body and the shadow. So he did an amazing reveal, so you can see the layers. So we have the button, we have the background color, which is the body of the button, and we have the shadow. And why I said body, because it gives it the feeling of the 3D when you're hovering it. Alright, so let's go to the editor, and this is my page, and let's see how we need to build it. So for me, I add another warper container because I'm thinking about if I have a multiple buttons, so I don't want to set each element width and height for each one separately. So I need one place, one item, so I can set the width and the height, and it will affect everything. So we have this warper container, and this is the container used for the shadow, and the body, the background container, and the button itself. And they all stuck together inside the warper element, the warper container. So if we will check the layer panels, it's look like this. I will select my final result, and I will go to the container, and you can say I named it as button warper container. Inside of it there is the shadow container, and let's see the sizing. Okay, the position of the element. So the shadow container is stretched inside the button warper, so it gets its width and height from the button warper, and he pushed from bottom for pixels. Basically this is because I add a shadow to this button, and the distance is 6 pixels, so you can see 2 pixels of shadow. See this is the shadow. It's basically 2 pixels. Alright, and then we have the background container, which is fully stretched inside the parent button warper container. And finally we have the button itself, and also it's stretch inside, but it has -4 pixels from top. That means it go out a little bit. Why we did it? Basically because we want to see the dark red, which is the body, so it gave the feeling of the 3D. All right, great. So if I publish this one, and let's view it. So now it's act like this. Okay, so it has all the animation, but I already create all the animation, but I will try to go over with you and to see how this is created step by step, so we can better understand how it works. So basically what I did, I create a function that active the animation, that init the animation, and I store the button and the box shadow. Why only these two elements? Because only these two elements make the animation. The body is doing nothing, basically, the dark red. But when I'm hovering, you can see that the button makes some animation. It goes up, and the shadow also do the opposite direction from it. Alright, so let's start with the mouse in. So I will comment out all the other functions, but okay, let's start. So I have my button and I have my shadow. So let's see in the layers panel. This is the button. You see example button. This is the ID. And if I select the shadow, this container, you can see that the example button shadow, this is the shadow. All right. So now I will add another section so I can scroll a little bit more. Okay. So now when I'm hovering in, I want to make the buttons like get excited for my click and go a little bit up. And the shadow also, it's because the button is getting higher, the shadow is getting bigger. Okay, so what I did, basically I import the Wix animation API because we need to use it. And then I said on mouse in Wix animation timeline add, this is one animation. Every time you see the dot add, this is one script. So I apply the animation on the button element and I move the Y position -2 pixels, which means it goes up a little bit, and the duration is 250 milliseconds, and the easing is like bouncing a little bit. So basically it's pull the button up, and the shadow is doing the opposite direction. It go down 2 pixels same time, and the offset is 0, which means these two animations start together. The default is that this animation apply first, and only after 250 milliseconds after this animation is finished, the next line will start. But when I said offset is 0, that means they start together. So if we publish the site, you will see the hovering effect. So when I'm hovering, you see it's stuck up because I have function only to mouse in right now. So what we want to do on mouse out, basically we need to reset the button and shadow to the original position, right? So simply as I said, the Y position is going back to 0, which is the default, what I created in the editor itself, and the shadow also doing the same way. So if we publish now the site, you can see that on mouse out it's going back to same position. Okay, it's right here. So when I'm hovering in, it's animated up, and when I'm hovering out, it's getting back a bit slower, but it's happening because I changed the duration here to 400 milliseconds. Alright, great. Basically this should be also 400. Okay, so now we need the bounce part after I click the button itself. So this function is related to when I click. Right now when I'm click, nothing is happening. Okay, so we need the function to the animation to the click. So what I'm doing on the click, so first step is basically I'm going, if this is the button to be pressed, I need I need it to go almost same height as the body, so we barely see the body, so it's look like it's pressed, and it's took like 80 milliseconds. So we push the button down, and then the shadow is pulling up, because when we push something, the height is getting smaller, and then the shadow is also need to get smaller. And after this animation happening, we add another animation. So it's pull the button back up. Why? Because we click, and then when we finish clicking, it's jumping back because we release the click, right? So it's jumping back to -4, and the shadow is doing same but the opposite way. You can see that they are always doing the opposite from each other, because the shadow is affected by the button itself. So it's bounced up a little bit, like higher than my hover state, and then I'm reset the positioning to my hover state, like this. So when I click, the button is pressed down, and then it's jump higher. Right now it's -4, minus, when I'm hovering, it's getting -2, so it's become -4, which is higher. And then, and after we finish the bounce up, it's reset the position back to the hover, which is this one, -2 for the button and 2 for the shadow. It's the same, because basically when I'm clicking, I'm still hovering, so it's pressed and going back to the hover position. So let's publish the site and see how it's react. So if I refresh, and now I'm hovering in, I have animation. Hovering out, it reset the position. When I click, you can see that it's pressed down, it's going higher my hover state, and then going back to my hover position. How cool is that? It's very playful. I can click it forever. Alright, so basically that's it. But now I want to show you, I mean, this function is good only for one button, but if I have like more buttons, so I created already more buttons here. Where is it? I created more buttons here. So what, I need to create now another 4 function for this one? No, I want to make it like one function that apply to each one of them, right? So I can do something else. Instead of declaring the button and the box shadow, I can make a one function that get button and shadow box, and then it need to apply to each to each element I give this function, right? So let's cut this one, we don't need it, and let's create something else. We can we need to select all the buttons inside the page. Okay, so I can set a const buttons equals to, and instead of saying like specific button ID, I can select all elements that called button. Okay, so this one is gave me array with all the buttons inside the page, and now I can say buttons for each button I can call this function. Okay, but now I need to pass the button. I have the button, but I need the box shadow. But my problem is that the box shadow, I don't know what is this box shadow. Basically, it's inside the wrapper container, and I select all the buttons. So I have the button when I'm looping. I have the element that called button, this one. But now I need to get the shadow container. So how can I do it? So I can basically call to the parent of the button and get its children, right? So I can set const box shadow equals to button. No, I don't need a $w. It's button parent children in position. This is the parent, and this is the first position, so in position 0. Okay, and then I need to pass the box shadow to this animation. So let's see if it's working for us. Oh, and I need to remove this function. And now let's refresh the page. We should have 4 more buttons. And it's not working. Why it's not working? Because for each is not a function. So let's see what is the problem. Oh, because I didn't write for each correctly. And now it should, yeah, you can see I have the hover effect for each button, and when I'm click, everything is working correctly. Okay, so we solved this issue, but now look what happened if I will add a regular button. Let's say in your site you might have a special buttons, but you might have regular buttons, right, without any styling. So if I publish the site, I will get an error that say I can't get this parent. So I mean cannot read property 0 of undefined, because this button is inside a section, and I think that section doesn't, you can't call section children. So to avoid this situation, we can do try catch and then catch the error and not break in our code, because you can see that now it's not working. So we can say, simply set try catch, and then copy this inside the try and catch the error, so we know what's happening. So console, let's add a warn, okay, and we can say we can set the error, we can print the error, and now I will get a warn but not an error. And then I already know what is the error. I can add a string here and explain exactly what is going on, but you can see that my buttons is working. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and you should definitely check Josh Comeau website. You can learn a lot of it. And till next time, have fun and keep building amazing site on the editor.